What's happened there?
I don't know. I got a haircut, guys.
You got a hairnet on. You got a hairnet that will capture all this hair that's falling off.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the next episode of Ranking Up. Yes, I am wearing a Little Mermaid t-shirt.
Yes,
because she is a queen. And you're wearing Game of Thrones.
Game of Bones. It's got a dog on the throne.
There it is. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed our episode so far. Today, it is very hot. We're in the middle of a heat wave right now, so apologies if one of us or both of us start sweating like pigs. I feel like we will.
Yes, I love to sweat.
And today, we're going to be talking about a hot topic that a lot of you have asked us in the past, which is...
Should we set up an OnlyFans account?
Dun, 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 dun,
No.
dun, 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 dun.
How to deal with losing.
Let's start with like competitive pro play, because a lot of people won't be able to relate to that, I don't think. Yeah.
So competitive pro play.
I mean, you lost quite recently.
Yeah, love losing me. I think I've lost in so many crucial moments of my career, both in VALORANT now and in CSGO, that losing has just become a part of the norm. However, there are a few things to kind of cope with. I think there are two main reactions I get.
Mm-hmm.
I lose and I get this urge to be like, I'm not going to lose again. Here we go. Straight back into it. Boom, boom, boom. Or I lose and I decide I really don't like the game. I don't want to play it anymore.
You
and
mope.
I mope and stuff. So there's two sort of reactions from me. And then from then on, I get like some subconscious reactions like if I'm good enough. There's a lot
Self-doubt.
of that. Self-doubt, yeah. There are a lot of self-doubt right now within how I'm feeling. So how to deal with all that? Honestly, you just gotta, if you keep working at, a wise player once said, if you keep working at 100% of, say you're only performing at 50%, if you work 100% of that 50%, it's enough. So I think generally if you're not feeling great and you're moping and you're like, don't have that buzz in you when you're playing because of the losses that are happening and stuff, you just got to keep working at 100% of whatever percentage you can give. Because if you're not doing that, then you're wasting your time in terms of when you are ready and you're back in it and you're back and like feeling it again. All that time in the part, you want to live with no regrets.
Also, the player he's talking about is Device.
Oh,
It kind of felt like you were talking about yourself. Like as a great player.
Yeah.
Said. Yeah.
Yeah, Device-ter.
I have a couple of questions then in that case. So first is, like you said, you've lost quite a lot throughout your life. And I think I saw Dapper tweet this as well. Like he wouldn't be where he is without losing like all those times and learning from it. What do you think is the biggest lesson each time you take away from losing?
You're gonna lose. There's no way, Jose, that you're gonna be able to keep up 100% win rate. Like each team will have its rise and fall, but you kind of want to be at that level where whilst teams are rising and falling, you're always staying consistent, and then sometimes you'll rise up. But as long as your fall isn't too far, like you fall through the depths of earth into no-namers and becoming like irrelevant.
Some people do though.
Yeah, it does
some
happen.
people it does happen to some people.
Because it's such a mentally stressful environment. Like it's hard to stay on your top form. Like if I look at Caps right now I think he's Craps, right?
No, he's still doing pretty well. He's
Is he
Caps
right
again.
now?
He shaved his head. Yeah.
He shaved his head, so that's his kind of way. But I think he spent a few weeks being Craps. And that, for me, that was really weird to hear. It would think about, because I always thought like Caps is Claps to me because of all the years. The year that I saw him, he was constantly owning it and stuff. But it kind of brings it to reality that people do get their mental affecting them.
Yeah, sorry, it's hot and I picked the wrong top to wear.
So
Should I just do it like this
yeah,
for the rest of the episode?
that's how I do.
Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah. So I think you need to be able to handle your mentality and your emotions and stuff. And I'm not a hypocrite. I'm not good at it. I'm okay at it.
You are a hypocrite.
I'm better. Yeah, I am. No, as in like, I don't want to say I'm good at it. Like I can do it, because I can't. I can do it okay, and sometimes I'm very good and I bounce back and I switch off and go straight back into it. But sometimes I do have a lot of doubts, and you see it in our losses and whatnot and performances and stuff, where times we're inconsistent, and you can see it. Such a young game and such young players and stuff, we don't know what we're doing half the time. And even though I'm 26, I feel 18 and it's all new to me as well, you know? So I think it's just years of experience and like knowing the best way to deal with it.
I want to ask you about a specific example because it felt quite rough from a viewer's perspective. So the Guild G2 day, because obviously like against Guild, I think you're probably the favorites going into that matchup. I think a lot of people expected you to beat Guild. It was close, like for what it's worth. It was a close match, but then you had a couple of hours or a couple of minutes, however many. No, it was about 10 minutes break. And then you had to play G2 straight away. So how do you keep your emotions in check when you have to go from like such a devastating scenario and then right back into another one?
Funnily enough, if you look at my stats between the Guild game and the G2 game, it all makes sense. All right, so I'm just that's my little spoiler before now I go back to the past. All right, so I'm going and playing against Guild. I'm thinking, yes, we've got this, and I'm stressed obviously because I want to win, and like we're not that great at the moment team wise, and atmosphere is okay, but like there's something wrong. We don't have that confidence spark that seems to be running through us, the Ascend boys and the G2 boys right now. Like they got that kind of like fresh vibes and fresh wanting to prove
But you
themselves.
had that when Dirk and Magnum first joined. That was like your honeymoon period.
Yeah, so we need to get that back. However, what I will say is during the Guild game, it was on Ascent and I had a fairly good half. I think it was our CT half was pretty good, and our attack half could have been a lot better had we not done certain things that I thought I'd brushed over in practice, but we showed them again, and I got very stressed because of it, because obviously I only have a certain amount of rounds before there's always that moment in the game where it feels like the switch happens, where they suddenly feel like they're
the momentum.
The momentum switch. So I knew there was a finite amount of rounds that we could spare before it was like, this is squeaky bum time now, here we go. So I was getting very stressed about that. Maybe my calls weren't as great, but I think generally there's a lot of just individuals playing wrong. So then if I bring that stress of the Guild game and I'm like, I brought it into map 2. As in, like, I didn't reset after even winning Ascent. I somewhat reset, but like we had a game plan. It wasn't working. The stress was back. Boom. Third map, I had a game plan, and due to the last map where it's like we should have won, Haven and their Haven versus their Haven, there's always been a bit like back and forth, top and tail kind of thing, and we ended up losing it because I think our preparation wasn't enough. I think we needed.
You did have less time than all of the other teams in the region.
Technically, but there is a bit more to it than that, I think. But I won't go into that because we're going to the handling the losses.
Yeah.
So I've just lost against Guild, and I'm like, shit. Okay, well we just gotta beat who are we playing? G2. Okay, I'm gonna go get what? I've got to play in 10 minutes. All right, let me. Damn, I need to reset. So now I called you. And you gave me, like, the Yinsu speech, which happens sometimes when I need it, when I'm not feeling the 100% on point. I wasn't feeling on point against the Guild game.
You like to... I always notice it when you get to a point where it's a bit of a funk with you mentally, is when you're tired and all you feel is tired. You're like, I'm just tired. Like, you're not excited, you're not stressed, you're not nervous, you're not, like, happy, sad, nothing. You're just like... I just can't be arsed. I'm just tired. And that's like an indication for me to be like, here comes the speech. And I remember what I said to you that day, because you were like, I'm a bit tired. Like, I'm not feeling it. And then I was like, you don't have the luxury to not be feeling it right now. Like, you have a game in 10 minutes. You have to feel it. You got to pretend to feel it. You got to force yourself to feel it. Because I think we did a similar speech. I did a similar speech in Iceland, when you weren't feeling it, and it was a little bit like the PCs weren't great in the prac rooms, and the atmosphere wasn't great because you couldn't prac, and it was hot, and it was just like loads of things that was going wrong. And I remember I was like, hey, you gotta understand how lucky you are. Like, don't ever look back on this and think I squandered my opportunity because I spent so much time complaining and feeling sorry for myself and not feeling that I couldn't be bothered and was tired. So I think after the guild game, I was like, you're so lucky right now. Like, you're on stream, you got loads of fans, everyone's supporting you. Losing one best of three is not the end of the world. Like, you guys still have so much to play for. You got a whole team that relies on you. Like, you cannot afford to feel bad. Like, you don't have that luxury when you have 10 minutes in between games. But that's all I did. So I don't know how you actually managed to get back into it.
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure. Honestly, when I was like, okay, yeah, all right, babe. All right, I will. Thanks, babe. Love you. Bye-bye. And then I went back into it. I think I went to the toilet, splashed myself with water or something. And I just faked it. Faked energy.
But
I just started screaming down the mic when we were in the loading screen, like, bring me pistols! And then...
But your stats were quite good for that one, I thought.
Exactly. So what happened was, I think because I was screaming so much, all the boys felt a bit energetic and stuff. And I was like, let's go now. Like, no regrets and all that jazz. Like, all this kind of stuff I was saying in Iceland and whatnot. And I think, yeah, it seemed to work
Our
for
washing's
me.
done, if you guys can hear that beeping in the background.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It seemed to have done something for me where I just suddenly was a bit more energetic this game. And it kind of showed where I was hitting better shots, doing better plays, and I was actually involved in the game.
More confident.
Yeah, just kind of feeling it like nothing to lose now. Sadly, we did lose. However, I didn't feel as bad anymore because I would have, if I didn't reset, then I would have felt bad like during the night. But I think I tried. I mean, the guild game, obviously, I feel a bit of regret because I was stressed and whatnot.
I think you didn't give it your best in the guild
factors,
one. That's the difference. I think you tried to give it your best, but I think looking back on it, you could have given more.
Yeah, as an IGL, my job is to make sure the emotions are on top. I don't have to be killing people as long as I can keep the atmosphere fairly decent. Then that could be a winning recipe regardless. And I play better when I'm positive. People play better when they're positive and whatnot. And it's all that jazz.
Yeah, I think that's one of the key points is when you feel like you've given it your all, the losing is still bad. It still sucked. Yeah. It still wasn't a nice feeling. But I think you can process it better with logic as opposed to with emotion. Which is why I think after the G2 game, when you came home, I knew you were sad and I knew like it kind of sucked. But in comparison to some of the other losses you faced and I've been around you for, I think it could have been worse. I think it probably is like the second, maybe third or fourth worst I've seen you. But the Ballista one is like the one that takes the crown. I think we talk about this a few times, but you lost the Ballista that one time. And I think that even for me, because normally when you're down in that hole, I can just speech you out of it. But I think the Ballista one, it was like, really, I don't know how bad it was for you, but from my perspective, watching you, it was like the worst loss I've ever seen you go through. Yeah.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, talk about why was that one so bad?
Because
you got out of it. You got out of it eventually.
Yeah, I mean the loss was bad because I was in the office and I was playing absolutely garbage. But I think because it was winter at that point and I had the heating on, and I don't play well. One, when I'm not fed, and two,
when it's too hot.
When I don't have a good sleep. Three, when it's too hot.
Yeah.
Those are my three conditions for winning. If I have none of these, then I'm probably gonna do okay. And I just felt so hot and I didn't realize it. And then when I get hot, I get flustered. And as soon as I feel like heat everywhere in my body, I won't be able to aim or do anything. It's really weird. It's like a whole, like, just flustered, like an uncomfortable heat.
Do you feel like
I'm radiating heat?
Do you feel like your personal performance, the fact that you didn't do that well against Ballista, is why you were so affected?
The aftermath, yeah. I didn't realize I was doing that bad until after I saw it, and I was like, that is not on. There's no way, Jose, I should be putting up those numbers. So yeah, I mean, I made sure I was playing a lot more. I told Sue, like, yo, I'm not hanging out with you anymore.
You're like, I'm not seeing you for the next 2 months. I was like, that's fine. I was like, do whatever you need to get out of this funk, because it was affecting me as well.
Luckily, unfortunately, I'm going to Poland, but also fortunately, I'm going to Poland because I need to grind now. Because I feel like I'm not
playing as much.
Not that. I feel like I'm not crisp.
I think one of the Ballista game and also what you said about Guild and G2 brings up a really common theme of like, if you do your best and you really focus on doing your best, and even when you lose, it doesn't feel as bad. It's like when you know you didn't do enough, or you could have done more, or you regret certain things, decisions you made, that's when it gets bad, and that's when the loss feels so much worse afterwards.
Yeah, you need to quickly bring yourself to reality and be like, am I going to regret this loss? If so, what can I do to not regret it? Because that's the only way, that's the best way to handle your losses, is by making sure that if a loss is a loss, it's a loss. But if it's a loss that you regret because you could have done something else, those are the worst ones. So you need to make sure that you're always doing 100% of what you can do.
Yeah. I mean, where does the Sentinels grand finals sit?
I'm fine.
Yeah, I thought you would be fine because you gave it your all.
I was happy.
You did your best.
Yeah, I mean, actually, fun fact, during the Haven, we were 8-4 down, and I was ready to call it a day almost.
Admit defeat.
Yeah. Like, I was like, oh, bloody hell, this is going to be a blooming grind. Already played 2 overtimes. Here we go again. And then and that's why you see the different pace I did in the game. I made us rush.
I know. I was like, just everything's out the window. You're just hitting the sights.
Because I didn't want us to think anymore. I just wanted us to go shoot. 2, because I had a read that Sentinels, if we play slow against them, we end up losing a lot easier. So I was like, I'm just going to guess that they're going to be not there, not there, not there. And I just kept rushing to different points. And they ended up working for us. And then suddenly we were coming back, and then obviously the energy came back.
Yeah.
But
What about First Strike losing to Heretics?
that was fine too. I can't even remember that.
I remember that because it was a 3-1, wasn't it, in the best of 5?
Yeah.
You took Icebox. Was that the only one that you took?
I can't remember.
I remember it.
Bind should have been ours.
Bind is when you had the
And then
tech. There was a tech pause when you were on your comeback in going into overtime, and then they won it right after.
Yeah.
But I remember you being surprisingly fine, because I think it was because you guys had done enough. Like, getting into the finals was enough to get signed. Like, I think you all knew it at the time. Like, we got in the finals of the biggest tournament to date as an unsigned team.
Yeah.
Like, surely we're going to get signed now. And I think because that was the goal, and, like, winning that trophy wasn't, like, the biggest deal ever, it was fine for you. Yeah. And also Heretics were really, really good.
Yeah, they were a good, solid team back
I think
then.
same as Sentinels. They're really good.
Yeah, I think you got to know that there's always going to be a winner and a loser. But we had quite the run.
You had a great run, yeah.
The experience of our players, the expectations of people can't be too sad. Obviously, it's sad. It's rough losing right from where as soon as you lose, all this kind of like thing just floods over you. You're like, oh, we've lost.
You're surprisingly good out of the pro players I know at dealing with losing from a public front, because you do losers interviews. If you're a pro player and you're watching this, losers interview, I know some controversy. Some people think is like it's not necessary. Some people think that pros should do them, and some pros will never do them. Like there'll be pro players that's been around for 10 years who would never, ever, ever, ever do a losers interview. Just never. But I think you're super good because I
don't mind.
You always do them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you lose, part of the game. But don't.
You gotta hold it for a bit until you fulfill your duties and then let it out.
Don't let go of your duties. Yeah, my duty.
Well, how do you hold it together then? Because I am really bad with my emotions as well. And when you lose and stuff, I'm pretty good when I'm working and you lose, like when I'm on stream, because I know I've got a job to do. So I'm like, I'm not here to feel anything. I'm here to do a job. So I just compartmentalize it. But how do you do it? Because sometimes you have to go on camera like straight after.
It's difficult. I mean, I kind of just, if I'm on camera, I'm very energetic anyway. And I want to be positive and whatnot, regardless of everything. And I think you just switch it off. It's actually for me, it's easy to switch it off. Like, you lost. I lost. Obviously, when I get back to my room, when I'm in solitude and I'm reading my book or whatnot at night,
it haunts you for like months.
Then I think about it. But like, in the moment, I'm so in the game, and as soon as the game's done, obviously it's like zoom, like a barrier just goes down, and all my kind of like I probably take a breath, like I forgot to breathe probably throughout the whole game, and I guess that's kind of how I deal with it. Is like, at least it's over. Like, regardless if we win or lose, at least it's over, because I don't want to go through that again.
Suppose being in it is worse, you feel?
Sometimes, I mean, it's just stressful. Well, from my perspective, like we're in high stress, IGL as well, thinking about what to do. It's on your hands, kind of thing. And I think just the thought of the game being over, I tried, no regrets. Boom, reset. Okay, they want me to do an interview. Yeah, I can do an interview. It's all right. It's unlucky. It's unfortunate.
You make a joke about it, yeah.
Well, that flash kind of thing.
Oh
you know?
no.
No, I wasn't. I actually wasn't even
I
thinking
know
about that.
you were.
I was just thinking about like a piece of utility.
Would you say the Ballista loss is the worst that you've had in your career, or was there Counter-Strike losses that were worse?
Counter-Strike losses, some were worse too. The Ballista loss was bad, but I think it was needed in order to make the changes and become who we were to get to Iceland.
Yeah.
So I think that was the benefit of that. Whereas my Counter-Strike loss was like career
What was the
ending.
worst one?
The MDL one.
Yeah.
When we're against Zyra in the finals to qualify for ECA MDL. I don't know what would have happened if we'd qualified, but it would have been quite a big feat. But we ended up losing out to them in 2-1, and we were 15-14 up.
Oh.
And then we lost 16-14. There was a time where I almost qualified for a minor back in the day. That was kind of a rough loss, but not as impactful. I think the MDL one was because I invested so much time into it, and I was really trying to go like full time, kind of like I wasn't working. I was living at home, and I was playing every day for like hours and hours and hours.
Was that the point that you were like, if I don't win this, I'm gonna quit?
No, what happened was we didn't win it, and then I still kept playing. I stopped believing, but then I ran out of money, and the XL approached. So then I was like, I guess I have to.
You had to go. I mean, it's a good thing because we got you here now.
Yeah,
it worked out in the end. I think that's the other thing because it will work out. I feel like
I always wanted to go pro, so I was always gonna. If there was an opportunity for me to try and go pro, I was always gonna have taken it. Like the league thing, I was trying to go pro in that game.
Some of the solo queue bloody losses you've had in league. Yeah. Oh my god, I've never seen you sulk so much in my life.
Yeah,
worse than Ballista.
League brings out. My worst experiences of loss is
League of Legends. Ranked. Solo queue, not even like competitive, just in ranked. But I think that's the message, not the message, but the moral of the story is that sometimes it's not going to work out. Like you're going to lose, but the losing is always going to lead to something, whether that's like
how you deal with your loss.
Exactly. Whether that's like losing and then it is career ending, like you said, but even if it is career ending for you at the time, it's brought you to where you are now. So, you know, it leads somewhere. It's not always the end of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing. It's not the end.
I think the biggest loss is if you lose and then you spiral down from there. It's not
like self-sabotage.
Yeah, you self-sabotage yourself. That's the actual losing. Like the losing of you losing a game or a crucial moment or a qualifier, that will happen in your career. You're going to lose. It's highly competitive. But how you deal with it, and if you deal with it in a bad way, that's the real loss.
I mean,
that's what you have to think about.
It's also crazy if you think about the fact how many world-class Counter-Strike players have never won a major.
Guardian.
How many world-class
Poor guy.
League of Legends players has never won Worlds, never even been to Worlds, some of them. Yeah. It's kind of mad, right? But that's what I always say to you. I'm always like, someone's going to lose today. And even when you're going into a game that's like, you're the biggest favorites ever. Let's say you're just playing like a bunch of diamonds or a bunch of plat people. It's the chance is still 50-50. I think that's what people don't understand. The chances of you winning is never 99% to a 1%. Like the chance of the plat team winning is never just 1%, because someone's going to win and someone's going to lose. There's so many factors to it. In the beginning of a game, you can't sit there and be like, it's 90-10. Like you just can't. You haven't even started yet. I think as the game progresses, the favor kind of swings more and the scale balances out here and there. But I just don't think I don't think it's healthy to have the mentality going into a game like, I'm never going to lose. Like, I do not accept losing. Losing is not an option. I know a lot of people like that kind of sentiment. Like, believe in yourself, you're never going to lose. But you have to prep yourself a little bit and be realistic.
For me...
Yeah, definitely.
I was going to say, to add to that. So, for me, because... I guess for me, my favourite quote comes from Haikyu, the anime. And what they say, I might actually watch that again to get me inspired. But what they say in that anime is, you're going, every team that is competing in this tournament believes they can win.
Exactly.
That's what you have to think when you're playing against opponents. And like, if you lose, you lose. Although I should hope we're not going to be losing to platinum players. I'd like to think it is actually 100% to 0%.
You know what I mean, though.
Yeah.
Like, you can't go in there and be like, this is 100% guaranteed. But I think that's probably, as from a spectator point of view, in that G2 series, it felt like G2 believed it a little bit more. Like, the way they played and the confidence they showed felt like they had a little bit more confidence and self-belief. Don't know if that's, I have no idea if that's true, but it just seemed like that from the way you played.
I think it was bad practice from us too.
Just
We'll have to
lack of
fix
preparation.
Not in that case, but like, I think we practiced the wrong things.
Well,
So we might have practiced lots, but
Yeah,
whether the right thing.
But that's how you learn, though, because like I always tell you that losing in scrims is great.
Yeah,
Losing in scrims, you're supposed to lose in scrims. Losing in scrims makes you realize that your idea was shit or your idea was great, but you just need more of it.
It's how we
and
became
so
the
on.
best buying team in the world at one point.
You lost loads in scrims back then, like loads.
Right before that qualifier, whatever
Yeah.
tournament we're playing, we lost every buying game.
And then
And
you
then we
became
just
super good
did
for
a
no
little
reason.
tweak, and
Yeah.
then suddenly it just worked.
It just clicked, yeah. But
Sky.
I think losing is definitely a part of growing, and there's no one's ever gonna, like you said, be 100% win rate, 100% loss rate. It's like a yin yang thing. Is there's no up without down, there's no happy without sad. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's relative. So I think acceptance is a really good way. Just being able to accept it, self-awareness. Like, how does this make you feel? Do you feel embarrassed because you shouldn't have lost to a worse team in theory? Do you feel like you didn't play well? Do you feel like your teammates weren't listening? Like, you being able to identify those things you feel as opposed to just rage, like blind rage, is really important, because you can either learn from it and win next time, or you can sulk and you can rage and you can be a bad teammate, and then you're just spiral downwards, like you said, like self-sabotage.
Yeah.
It's like a really important thing. But we're going to quickly talk about losing in a slightly different scenario, because people, not yet, we'll talk about that last.
Oh.
So losing in my industry. So people ask me this a lot. Yeah, like a fair amount, especially newer up and coming talent. So I say the losing that I can identify in what I do in terms of like journalism and talent is losing out on a story. So like someone doesn't want to speak to you about a story, or you had an interview lined up and they declined you, or losing an opportunity to someone else. So let's say I was meant to be hosting something and then the tournament organizers decided to go for a different direction, or I kind of put myself up for something and I lost to someone else, or I didn't get the opportunity. I think it's so hard not to take it personally. Like, I'll do the talent thing first. So as a talent, you're not going to get every gig. You're just not. That's not going to happen unless you're like super, super, super established and you have infinite amount of time and you have freedom and the TO only wants you. I don't even think at the top level that they get every single thing they want to do in every single event for the entire year. It's just not going to happen. So again, accept the fact that you're not going to get everything. It's just not going to happen. But losing out on opportunities can be really tough, because sometimes the TO will tell you why they don't want you. Sometimes they don't tell you why. And sometimes the reasons they give you why can be really, really hurtful. Like, I've been on the brunt end of that. I've been told that people don't want me because I'm a woman. I've been told that people don't want me because the woman thing happens probably the most out of all the reasons I've been rejected. I recently, literally a month ago, got rejected. Maybe even less than a month. Less than a month ago, 2-3 weeks ago, I was told, hey, we don't need a female host. We actually need a female caster. And I was like, well, I'm not a female caster, but like, I like to think I'm a pretty good Valorant host. I don't know. But they specifically said, like, really sorry, but we don't want to hire you. You're not a female caster. Like, we're only looking for a female caster. And I was a little bit disheartened, because I felt like it was an event that I knew loads about. It's like a scene that I was insanely familiar with, that I've been doing ever since the beta, like spending a lot of time into. I see myself as like an expert in that field. And then to be told, like, you're not the right kind of woman. Soz. So I was a little bit sad, obviously, because I was like, well, I wish they could just judge me on my merits. I wish they could just be like, you're not good enough, sorry, or you are good enough, let's go. Rather than, yeah, you're good, but like, we don't need a female this. Yeah, so it knocked my confidence a lot because I was working super hard for this, and I was like, oh, that's shit. Like, what can I do? There's not much I can do. Maybe I did something wrong. I was like torturing myself for about a week trying to guess what I did wrong, and whether maybe I wasn't working hard enough, or my knowledge wasn't great, or my delivery wasn't good. Just like picking myself apart,
Nitpicking.
like apart. It got so bad because the week after I had a similar thing happen to me. Two of those things happened in a week basically, and then you sat me down. You were like, "Look, you need to." Because I was having like bit of a crisis. I was like, oh my God, I was losing all my confidence. I didn't know what to do. And you sat me down. You were like, you were like, do not take it personally. Like, you cannot take it personally. These people clearly don't know what they're doing. They don't know you. They don't know the scene that well. You are listening to someone who doesn't know enough. So like, this is a stupid thing to feel down about.
And you're getting emotional about things you can't
control. Exactly. It was completely out of my control.
You can get sad.
I was sad because I felt like I'd rather hear, we don't think you're good enough, your knowledge is here is not good, or we don't think your work is good enough, than to hear that. Because I was like, I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, oh my gosh.
What I said was, I said that, you can get sad, but what you can't do is start doubting yourself, because you are skilled enough and you're good enough to know actually, and you're on it to know actually whether you are good or not.
Yeah, that's completely true.
Because that's what you were doubting as well.
Because you're always going to get self-doubt after losing. You feel the same. Like, am I good enough to do this? What's going on? And I felt like that as well. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you were like, your knowledge is good. You know you've been grinding the scene and this specific event.
You're not stupid.
You know a lot about this. It's not nothing to do with that. Like, just don't be too down about it. And I think I spent like a week just feeling like I worked super hard for a year for no reason. The lesson I learned is that shit happens. Like, it happens. It's out of my control. And the only thing I can do is keep grinding, not giving up, and keep believing that I am good. Because the second that you lose that, the second you feel doubt and you feel like you don't deserve to be there, you're not good enough, and like you said in your scenario, you'll spiral, and it will be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because if the next time I'm on air, I have voices in the back of my head going, you don't deserve to be here, you're not good enough, blah, 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 it will make me trip up.
Yeah, I say one thing as well, because some people might not be at the level that you're at. So, like, because you're at a high plus level in terms of thing. So what I was gonna say is, this is relevant to you in terms of you've adapted.
Yeah, that's true.
People need to adapt to their situation. So, like, because if, for me, I had to give up in CSGO because I needed money.
Yeah.
And I could have maybe kept it going and adapted, but I chose a different adaptation route. I went to League of Legends instead. But I could have probably kept playing CSGO whilst vlogging.
Yeah, but you didn't give up like going pro.
No, exactly. That was my main thing. So I just adapted what game. So
yeah. So if Valorant doesn't work out for you, for example, and you want to cast Counter-Strike, go for it. Like, it doesn't have to be this one thing that doesn't work out for you. But I think it's
find your niche.
Yeah, but it's definitely important to not doubt yourself.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
You can doubt yourself because you genuinely fucked up. That's fine. Like, if I whiffed big time on broadcast, which I have loads of times before, it's okay to doubt myself that day and to
I whiffed that flash with you.
Review to review it. But don't doubt yourself because someone else says so. That's the difference. Like, there's a difference between you doing something bad and then acknowledging it and then learning and then growing and feeling bad about it, and someone saying you're not good enough, Jake. Like, if someone if a random Valorant player came up to you and was like, I think you're a shit IGL, you would never listen to that. You just be like, I don't care
think
what
anyone sane would listen to that.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. But I think some people would. I'm the kind of person that would, because I get that self-doubt sometimes. So losing in that sense, it's always going to happen. You can't control things that happen to you, but keep grinding, keep believing yourself, and keep going after your dreams. Because I know doing talent is so tough. Like, I only did it properly for like a year and a bit, a year and a few months. So I'm not one of those people that's been grinding for like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years for it.
But the things you did doing before did actually help towards the grind.
That's true.
The accidental kind of, I fell into this kind of...
I just did loads of interviews, didn't I?
Yeah, so you were always in the scene and grinding and hustling. Just you adapted and changed what you wanted to do.
Yeah, just growing. But I just think being able to accept it is really, really big part of it. And then really quickly, to finish my part off, For interviews, I used to take this super personally. So like when players reject interviews from me,
I remember that.
because sometimes I get rejected by players that are my friends or people that I know. So I'm like, why have they rejected me? Have I done something wrong? Like, why? What the hell is going on? Like, it happens all the time. I used to take it really personally because I'm like, great. Like, what am I going to do now? I'm going to be a total failure. I'm not going to get enough content. I spiral and I kind of lose a bit of self-belief. But the fact of the matter is, sometimes a player doesn't even know who they're rejecting. Sometimes they're just tired. Sometimes their managers reject you. Sometimes they have too many interviews and they know, maybe they know rejecting you, you're the person that's not going to take it personally because they know you. Or yes, maybe they just don't want to speak to you because you suck, but you don't know that. Like there's so many different reasons, and it's not up to me to just assume that.
Nope.
So I think my biggest advice for when it comes to getting rejected for interviews and stuff is to not take it personally. Like I got rejected many times. Many times. Even now, these days I get rejected all the time. So don't take it personally. And if someone really doesn't like you, then there's nothing you can do about it. Like, you just have to deal with it. And if someone expresses that, then yes, you should try and fix it and try and do something about it. But if someone just goes, sorry, they're not talking today, there's no point sitting there taking it personally or assuming that they don't like you or you fucked something up. You just have to adapt, like you said.
The analogy I gave you is when I went to audition for theatre schools.
Oh yeah, this is sad though. This made me angry.
And the audition,
yeah.
you go into an audition, and real story short, I love dancing. I was okay at dancing.
You're great dancer.
I was all right enough to critique the other dancers in the room and know kind of where I was at in terms of my skill compared to the others. And the first audition was a dancing audition for this specific school. And so I was like, oh, nice. That's my strongest. And then on the first audition, I didn't get a recall, but certain lads did. All similar kind of builds, similar looks, and their dancing was not great. So now I was like, what the hell? What's happened here? And I couldn't ask why I didn't get a recall. My 5'4" self back at the day. I couldn't ask, didn't know what was going on. So you just kind of, it's a brutal world out there for being a talent in hosting, a gamer, anything you want to do that's like highly competitive. So you just got to kind of like shrug it off and keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I think
adapt. Like I like to say this word. Apparently, this.
In your situation, it really upset me because the people that got recalled essentially were like tall, older-looking guys.
Yeah.
And they didn't really care about the way they dance, which I think is really similar in my situation.
Yeah, the guy did the dance wrong 3 times.
Yeah, in my situation, I've lost out to people that knew nothing about Valorant, but because I wasn't like the right look or because I was a woman, like I lose out. It happens. It's shit. It's unfair.
Generally does happen. If any guy says women don't get opportunities, then you're wrong.
What do you mean?
If any guy says it's not because you're a woman.
Yeah, no, I mean it's both.
Sometimes.
It's sometimes here and there. That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah,
but
another podcast.
Yeah,
we've got to get 21 podcasts to be one of the top percentile podcasts.
Yeah, we do. Anyway, should we move on to some questions? Because I think there's some solo queue questions in here that you would be good with answering.
Oh, it's fine, Drew. All that.
You're always farting. I can smell it.
That was 6 farts.
6? Oh my god. Okay. A question from Rain. He says, 5 minutes.
Let's get it.
How long did it take for you and Boaster to have that strong mentality to keep going even in the face of losing? How do you guys also handle the expectations, criticisms, and hate in the pro scene and also in streaming? Let's break this down. This is a few questions. The first one is, how long did it take for you to like develop the mentality you have now?
I think it's just about a case of realizing yourself. Like people can tell you how to do it, but I think it does take, you need that kind of like euphoria moment to be like, oh, that's
cracked enough. Yeah.
But I haven't figured out yet. I have little ways, but nothing finite. I'm not the best person of myself I can be yet. Just time.
It takes time, but each time it gets better, I'd say.
Yeah, you have to just look within in a very hippie-ish way.
How do you deal with expectations, criticism, hate in the pro scene? I guess that's when you lose, like when people criticize you and hate you when you lose.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to criticize you. It's an immature community, and like, there's going to be hate, there's going to be all that. But anyone going out of their way to do all that is not worth your time. That's how I think about it. So anyone typing all that doesn't affect me. If anything, sometimes I laugh at it.
You do,
personally.
yeah.
When I look at Reddit and people saying like Boaster was rubbish, I was like, yeah, I was. Oh god.
There was one guy that wanted to kick you. They were like, Boaster should be kicked. And they said it in the Fnatic Discord where you were in there.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a bit mean, right? To ask, like, to be like, Boaster should be kicked in the Fnatic Discord.
Yeah. But don't
after
bother me.
one bad performance.
Don't bother me, mate.
Oh, real quick, one thing that I find weird is that, like, whenever you win or lose, sometimes people will message me about it or tag me and stuff. Like,
Oh, ha, ha, ha.
yeah. But the weird one is when G2 wins. Because, like, G2 fans, I don't know, well, I do know why, but when you guys lost to G2, I had, like, like, death threats, like, so many rape threats.
Yeah, I mean, that's not really on.
But it's weird because when you lose to any other teams, it never happens. Never. But to G2, and because I know, like, some people at G2 don't like me, but it felt weird to me because I'm like, okay, he lost. Enjoy the win. But why do you have to send people to hate on me? That's a whole other thing. But, yeah. So, I want you to beat G2 so I don't have to handle rape threats. And last question, how to deal with ladder anxiety when climbing solo queue?
Well, in Valorant, I'm quite good at it. As in, I don't really care about it. But in League of Legends, because actually...
You cared so much.
I cared
really.
way too much. Because, like, rank was everything in League of Legends. Whereas in Valorant, it's not as important, but it is still important to some degree. So, to give it the best example is, I think when you're going into a ranked game, you play your agent. And luckily, with Valorant... luckily, with Valorant... you have lineups, you have setups, you have bomb sites. These are things that you can definitely practice. So despite whether you win or lose, you can always just think about the game like, what did I do well? Did I flash my teammate well? Was I thinking about how I could flash for someone? Why did I lose? Was my aim rubbish? Okay, well, that's an easy solution. I just got to keep practicing my aim and stuff. Luckily, it's very easy in Valorant to figure out what needs to be fixed.
Also, on a really left field scientific way, like basically when you see like up arrows when you win and when you gain elo and when you climb, the endorphin it releases is huge. Like, it's a scientific thing. It's an addiction thing. It's like when social media, when people like your photos, when people like your tweets, you feel like a rush of...
Like, I didn't bang a tweet.
So it's exactly the same in solo queue. So when the down arrow is going to make you feel down, physically feel down. It's all a lot of science behind it. Definitely advise you guys to go read up on it because I'm not an expert. But once you kind of understand why certain things are happening ranked to make you feel, your anxiety will be eased like a lot more. And also, like we said this entire time, someone's got to lose, someone's got to win. It happens all the time, and sometimes you can't control that.
Yeah, and in ranked, you can't control it because it's algorithms, bitch. Yeah. In League of Legends, it's harder, but I think in this game it's easier because I'm on a 12-win streak right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like to lose, bro. I don't lose.
But we have a meeting in 1 minute, so we have to finish this up. But the conclusion is, sometimes you can't control losing. How you deal with it is very important. Try to turn everything into positivity. And if you need help with some of that and you don't feel 100% on knowing what you're doing, join the Discord. Ask us some questions. We're always there to help. But hopefully some W's going your way and some W's going your way.
Does this look like a love?
Yeah, it does. And hopefully by the time this episode goes out, you would have qualified, because it'd be really awkward if you didn't and we're putting it out.
Some W's are coming your way.
Some W's. Whoop, whoop.
And get the wins.
Love it.
Zed.
Okay, guys, we got to bounce. Thank you. Like and subscribe and leave your questions. Love you all. Bye.
Bye.